Hi, Jeff. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity of having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for giving us this interview.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Pleasure indeed, Jeff. I looked up your profile and I found it very, very interesting. At 17, you turned your hobby in graphic designs into a business of sorts. Then you went on and did a degree in aviation avionics. And then you also have a PhD in robotics and drones. And then you take a plunge into marketing. And then you're offering solutions to digital out of home business. So it's quite a remarkable journey in such a short time. So, how do these dots connect?
It's a really good question. I actually don't have a PhD. I did study for a little while though. I think for the longest time I wanted to be well, as a kid I wanted to be a rocket scientist. So I pretty much put my entire life in that trajectory to get the degree in aerospace engineering, and then I went into I think through my university degree, I wanted to make some money on the side, and I was good at design work because my father was always a graphic designer, and I always see him working on designs and branding and all of that. So I thought, I could try some of this out myself, and I did enjoy it as a hobby. So once I got into my PhD, eventually after the degree, I quickly discovered that research wasn't for me. I was too much of a builder. I wanted to make things, so I started a brand design business called Hues. That was I guess a couple of years, and then I still sort of felt that need to build something. I think doing design work was fun, but it didn't really scratch that itch, so to speak. And yeah, we I decided that well, I guess there needed to be a change, and I think it just so happened that there was an opportunity to fix a pretty big gap in the out of home world, and the bridging the gap between digital marketing and out of home. And yeah, I kind of just put the engineering side along with the design side together. And yeah, no, I mean, if you had to tell my 5-year-old self that this is where I was going to be, I would not have believed you.
Marvelous. So, Jeff, you're the co-founder of CAASie, which I understand is a self-serving ad platform, right?
Yes.
And what you are also offering as your catchphrase is billboard ads made more affordable, and you provide on-demand access to media sites for media assets for customers. Now, tell me, there is a whole lot of flexibility that you offer to customers, and you have this on-demand model that you are actually offering to customers. So, how different is it from anything else that is available in the market?
I guess we contrast ourselves to the traditional sales model for out of home, which was typically, I guess, historically, has been sort of very deal oriented, and even looking at the current state of the art, which is programmatic, it is still traded somewhat, um, involving deals and fixed buys. Even though there's automation, there's still a lot of friction. So the biggest problem that we came up against with out of home was that whilst there was automation, whilst you could do some really exciting things, it was still really difficult for particularly digital marketers and small businesses that were used to the ease of trading on Google and Facebook. They
Right.
couldn't really get involved with out of home, despite the technology being there. So for us, was I guess the goal was to pretty much just connect those dots. The technology of programmatic was there. The digital marketers with the skill sets, they were there. We just needed to find a way to bring those two together. Of course, we discovered that seeing those dots and seeing that we could connect them was only one part of the overall I guess difficulty of putting that together. Is that now we've got to find a way to actually bridge that, so I actually connect those dots. And that's where Cassie really fits in, is that the that bridging between digital marketing and out of home, to give small businesses and digital marketers the ability to buy out of home the same way they used to with Facebook and Google and all those other online platforms that they're currently enjoying. So yeah, that's pretty much where Cassie sits in the market.
Interesting. Jeff, in fact, that was something that I would have asked you, but you've already made you've shared your observation on that, of actually helping clients that are engaging in digital marketing to be able to opt for digital OH with ease, as with which they would have otherwise done their digital marketing as well. So are you really seeing an integrated approach to digital marketing and digital OH advertising?
At the moment, I guess we're at that very early stage. We are seeing a little bit. So you tend to find that um, there's a wide range of customers that come through our platform. Some users just want to put their ad up on a billboard because they want to do that. It's sort of like a pride thing for them. Other users actually do think about how this works as part of an overall marketing campaign. You tend to find the very first campaign they run isn't that thought out, because they're just sort of thinking, they're playing with it and seeing what happens. But as soon as they start to look at, all right, I'm running this campaign on my digital platforms, how do I link this back with my out-of-home campaign? So we had a client on our platform actually run what I would describe as a quite clever campaign. They identified that their target market were cyclists, or people who were interested in cycling, because they had a cycling related event on.
Okay.
What they looked at was they thought about their audience and they said, these guys are going to the gym. I want to target them at the gyms, but I want to target them when they have their spin classes on in the gyms. So they did some research looking back at, when are these spin classes on in each of these gyms? And then they applied a unique creative to that particular time in those particular places. And that creative was different to the creative they used on social media. And they were able to distinguish between traffic that had interacted with the out-of-home ads and the traffic that had come through directly from digital. And they were able to see, what the user journey was through, into actually signing up for that event. So for them, that was a really well thought out campaign, and we're starting to see more of that actually happen now. But yeah, look, I mean, our goal as a platform is to make it easier to do that. We want to make sure that people don't just use out of home in a silo and don't just try and run an out of home campaign independently, that they actually integrate it back with their social media. And that's why CAASie's user interface has been designed the way it has, is to try and replicate that experience and make sure that we're using similar terminologies, similar concepts overall through the platform.
Great. So Jeff, definitely the number of advertisers opting for digital media is far outnumbers those that are going for digital out-of-home media. So when you have a platform such as yours that allows for an integrated approach, do you see that actually helping a lot of the advertisers who ordinarily opt for digital media to also start considering digital out-of-home media for their marketing purposes?
Yes, I do actually. I guess for the most part, you tend to find that now every small business wants to be on digital and social media. And that is, I mean, no matter how you cut it, that's pushing prices up for them. Because there's a limited number of avenues now. And even I believe Facebook was, as long as 2 years ago back, said that they were reaching ad saturation, at which point, you've got basically the cost per impressions and cost per thousands basically skyrocketing. And essentially what that creates is a scenario where ads are slowly becoming less and less affordable, and people are getting more and more desensitized to them on the existing platforms. So a lot of our users in particular are current users of social media, and we definitely don't say things like not to use social media, but we're saying, like, can you take some of that budget and spread it more effectively across formats where that you wouldn't have traditionally considered? And this is a classic example of a format that you don't consider. typically as a small business, you think, oh, I'm going to be limited to social media. And maybe if I was slightly more qualified in digital marketing, I might think of display ads or, I mean, you don't really ever think of in-app advertising or anything like that either. So there's so many different avenues that are available, but, you know, they're still not at the forefront of what people think of when they go to advertise. And that's where, I guess that's the difference we're trying to make here with out of home. But you know, that said, this kind of model I think can be applied across multiple formats, not just out of home specifically,
Right.
but yeah.
Are you seeing smaller, small and medium enterprises opting for digital out of home media through your platform? Because typically, digital out of home media is mostly sees the presence of large brands.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually really interesting because for us, the vast majority of users, and when I last checked, it was 80% plus had never used out of home before. So we're definitely seeing small to medium-sized enterprises coming through. I mean, we don't typically see larger businesses on our platform because obviously there are those established channels for them. What we're seeing is almost exclusively people who have never seen it as an option for them. So that's where we see ourselves fitting, and I think what we're seeing with the customers validates that as well.
Lovely. Which are the markets that you're catering to now?
It's a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. I guess we're seeing, interestingly, quite a few not-for-profits come through because I guess in a way the type of business that tends to use our platform over, say, a direct media buy is the one that is much more budget conscious. So they want the flexibility of being able to say, you know what, I'm going to stop this campaign, or I'm going to be in full control of the money I put in. I'm not going to commit to anything. I want my freedom, and I want to be able to say when these ads play. And not-for-profits, I think, traditionally have wanted to be on out of home, but they've sort of struggled with that just because it is hard to get campaign budgets out of home size budgets over the line with the executives at those kinds of organizations. So we typically see them come through and say, oh wow, this is possible, and they are able to do something that they never had before. And we are seeing other industries as well. I think, it's hard to say, I guess. There's just so many different types of clients that we get through. And because it's small business, you've got such a wide range of different businesses. So I couldn't yet characterize the types of businesses that would use us, but I could just say that right now that it's vastly the more budget conscious, or the ones that are aware of, you know, what they're spending, and they don't want to throw some money at something without being absolutely sure that it's going to work.
Got it. Geographically, what is the reach, or rather, from where all do you have media sites listed on your platform?
Right now, it is for the most part, our screens are actually in the US and Canada and Europe. I think Australia follows that. We've got decent coverage across mainland Australia and Tasmania. And our partnership, which we recently announced through Moving Walls, will open up Southeast Asia for us as well. So yeah, look, at the moment, obviously being an Australian platform, our focus has been, based in Australia, and any advertising that we do overseas will still pretty much come from within Australia. But we're really excited to have inventory effectively all over the world right now.
Right. So how did this tie-up with Moving Walls come about?
I think we'd been in conversation with Moving Walls on and off for the better part of a year. So we'd initially, I believe, as far as I understand from the Moving Walls group, which is a fairly large entity, they have their own demand side operations as well as the supply side operations. I believe at some point there were some conversations between our team and theirs about getting advertisers from Singapore to advertise in Australia, and likewise, for us, we had a few tourism clients or I guess businesses in the tourism industry that were looking to advertise into Asia as well. And all of that got put on hold during COVID because, no one was advertising overseas from our end anyway. So we that conversation just got halted. And more recently, we picked that back up and said, look, we can definitely see a business case here that we've got customers here in Australia, tourism companies that actively want to be advertising into Asia. And as we come out of COVID, there's definitely going to be a huge surge in the number of, I guess, people traveling, as well as the number of, exports going out and all that sort of stuff both from Australia and into Australia. So we saw that there'd be a great synergy between the two companies. And that's pretty much where that discussion happened.
Wonderful. Programmatic digital out-of-home space is really, as a concept, is really catching on in a lot of markets, especially the developed markets. Of course, COVID came in between and it has really posed new challenges. But here on, what do you see as the real growth opportunities for CAASie?
That's a really good question because, if I'm honest, we ask ourselves that all the time. Truthfully, I'd say that there are, I guess, three areas in which, CAASie can make a big difference. One of it is looking at the creative side. It's one of the biggest hurdles for small businesses is that, they may have, we solve the placement problem, of course, as CAASie, where, we allow them to place their ads onto sites all over the country here, for example, but that still requires them to invest into having, good creatives and creatives that will actually, integrate into the rest of their marketing. And that's an expensive endeavor for most small businesses. So that's one area in which we can make a difference and an area that we're looking to try and get into. The other area is campaign planning. So one of the things that people kind of struggle with here coming through our platform is, how do I know, which screens to pick?
Right.
They've got this giant selection and say, look, what do I actually do? What's good for me? And for us, we've always had troubles because we're a free to use platform, which makes it difficult for us to offer the kind of, to make data freely available for people to, choose, say, I'm targeting this audience and find me all the screens that can do that. So we typically sit as the BYO data kind of system. And that's quite difficult as well for the users. And that's an area we're looking at, diving into for us and seeing what can we do to bridge that gap? What kind of relationships can we have with data companies and all of that? And the third thing, of course, is the looking at how creatively can we deliver ads, particularly for agencies. Are they looking to deliver, weather targeted advertising? Are they looking to, deliver event targeted or custom triggers and all that sort of stuff? So there's a lot of work that is in the pipeline for us over the next year to 2 years. And yeah, for us, I guess there's no shortage of ideas that seem to come out of our customers as well. Everyone's asking for new features. So yeah, I would say that those three core areas are where we're interested in investing the most time and effort. And I think those three areas are quite important to our customers at this stage.
Wonderful. In fact, you answered what would have been my final question, but nonetheless, that the fact that you started off your business journey, turning your hobby, which is graphic designs, into business, and you're in a space that actually calls for more creative content. So are you planning to establish a strong, create a strong pipeline of work for yourself in the area of creativity for effective digital out-of-home advertising?
Well, I mean, I'm interested actually in seeing how much of that we can automate. Um, of course, I mean, there is a part of me that loves design and always will. So, I mean, I do love that challenge. But what I'm interested in is also seeing how we can do that most time effectively for our customers. Because yeah, like it is a time consuming thing. I mean, as much as I enjoy it, it's something that not a lot of other people enjoy. So and they spend a lot of money doing it. So the question for us is, how can we save our customers money in that on that front as well, and reduce mitigate every single barrier of entry there is to out of home, and see, even going beyond this is, can some of this technology be applied to other formats of advertising as well, and how much further can we take this? So I think, in my view, the sky's the limit, from that creativity side and automation side. So yeah.
Marvelous. Jeff Jaraved, it's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you. On behalf of Media for Growth, let me wish you and your team every success, and we hope to stay connected with you. And thank you once again for giving us this wonderful interview.